frame as two other buildings that were hit by planes, commercial planes with jet fuel spewing all around. But this Trade Center 7 building fell by natural regular fires, nothing abnormal. And the building, how it was built, should have been able to take a normal fire situation without collapsing. You're telling us basically that a building was built not able to handle a natural fire and fail. That's a 7. That's what you're telling us. You're telling us that this building was not built to take a fire at all. They didn't consider this when they built it. They didn't make it fireproof in any kind of form or fashion. It just fell down when when fires were lit in it. Now you see what I'm saying? And you know what's the spookiest thing? That you guys didn't come to the same conclusion. 21 years done came by and came and went, and you ain't came to the conclusion that I have. That's the spookiest thing about it. This building, Trade Center 7, which should have been built fireproof to a degree, which would have made it longer for the building to burn down. Okay, if it's fireproof, it's going to take a little longer. How come it fell still in the same vicinity, time-wise, of Trade Center 1 and 2? It just fell by normal fires, which the architects should have proofed the building from falling from normal fires. Do some damage, but not collapse totally. How does this happen? Explain this. Make it make sense. And y'all say y'all love New York. Well, if you love New York, why you ain't figure this out then? Yeah, I'm putting pressure on y'all. Yeah, I'm being hard on you. You should have been thought about this. You New York strong. You smart. You done been everywhere. You done been through all the boroughs. Staten Island, Brooklyn, Bronx, Harlem, Manhattan, even Long Island. You done been through all the boroughs and you ain't thought about this? Here it is 21 years later. And you got to get a guy from North Carolina to come up here and show you what happened. Because if you believe that, you smoking crack. You smoking crack if you believe that. And the biggest holes in the story is it didn't fall in the same time frame. I can't stress that enough. That's the biggest holes in the story. If it had took time, if they were good, then it would have took time and it would have been more believable. But they rushed it because the way they planned it, they wasn't good enough to make two different time frames. That's a 7. They made one time frame instead of 2. That's a 7. I can't make this up. They put 1, 2, and 7 trade centers in the same time frame when they had two different reasons why the buildings fell. Well, if you have two different reasons, you're going to have two different time frames. That's common sense. It ain't got nothing to do with conspiracy, my opinion versus your opinion. It's reality. If there's a certain reality of these buildings fell, there's a certain reality, right? That's going to produce a certain time. If it's a certain thing that made it fall, that's going to produce a certain time. If you have another reason why this building fell, it's a certain reason why, that's going to produce a certain time as well. So how they both fell in the same time frame? That's where that's where they got goofy. They couldn't with the impacts that they were producing upon these buildings as far as planning it, they were not intelligent enough to make two time frames. They were not intelligent enough to do it. That's where they messed up. Okay. You got two planes hitting this one, you got fire hitting this one. Okay. They're not gonna be able to, we can't act like they both fail, all three fell in the same time frame. So you're gonna have some way to linger Trade Center 7, even if you're doing it by demolition. But see, they knew that everything was going to be in the vicinity by the time Trade Center 1 and 2 hit. They felt they were impacted first, right? I guess so, right? I guess it wasn't a fire in Trade Center 7 before the two planes impact, right? I guess not, right? Okay, so when you have that going on, you would have to have had that happen. And you would have, if you're using demolition like everybody thinking, you would have to linger for it to be believable. Trade Center 7's demolition bombings, but you couldn't do that because too many investigators would be on it in the atmosphere, and it would blow your whole cover. So you had to make it all fall. Here it is. Check it out. You had to all make it all fall in the same vicinity before the investigators came in. If you didn't make it all fall in the same time frame, then investigators would have came in on 1 and 2, and if you would have tried to make Trade Center 7 linger, then everyone would have turned their eyes to Trade Center 7 and seen what you was doing, and they would have been able to see that you did it by demolition. That's a 7. So the reason why they did it all in the same time frame is because of the investigators, the everyday common folk that would have seen it, their eyes would have been open. You got two planes in the building, so we got to all make sure this all happens in the same time frame because everybody's eyes are open, everybody's ears are open. So if we do anything outside of that that's tacky, it's gonna blow our cover. But it was supposed that if it would have been done correctly, by whatever means it was done, it would have been Trade Center 1 and 2 was hit and impacted. And then Trade Center 7 would have lingered and it would have been more believable. But see, they could have never made that believable because too many people would have been in the vicinity of Trade Center 7 seeing actually how it fell. That's a 7. So they just thought, well, if they all fall together, nobody's really going to question it. I mean, it's really a shocking situation altogether anyway. They're more hurt than anything and more shocked than anything. And you didn't even really question anything. They would have never been able to put Trade Center 7 in a believable time frame of how it was supposed to fall by fires. By fires, they would have never been able to put that in a believable time frame or a realistic time frame because too many investigators would have been down there. So if they would have made it fall 12 hours later, it would have been too many people that seen that it fell by demolition. That's a 7. It would have been too many people that seen that it fell by artificial, intentional, evil means. So it was safer to kind of push it over into the same time frame of Trade Center 1 and 2 falling. That's a 7. Because you know that happened. You know people died. Well, people dying is enough real reality for people to accept what you say. You say it happened that way, people died? Oh, well, okay. And that's how they got you.